Meet Jake, 47, mid-level manager, completely wiped out by the end of every day. The moment he hits the pillow, best part of his life. Covers up, eyes closed, and then his bladder taps him on the shoulder. Hey, we need to go. He ignores it. 10 minutes later, Jake, I mean it. He shuffles to the bathroom, comes back, finally drifts off. 3 a.m., eyes open again. More urgent this time. Jake stares at the ceiling. I'm just getting old. This is just what happens now. Here's the thing, though. I was going through a stack of clinical papers on this last week, and what I found actually stopped me. Because Jake, he's only half right. And that other half is where things get interesting. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm a licensed pharmacist with 9 years of experience, and this channel is all about taking dense, complicated research papers and turning them into something you can actually absorb while you're driving, working out, cooking, whatever you're doing right now. Today's topic, nocturia. That's the clinical term for waking up at night to use the bathroom. Sounds like a minor inconvenience, right? But after going through the research on this, it's really not something to brush off. We're going to follow Jake's story throughout this episode, so stay with me. You don't need to focus hard, just listen, like a podcast with your pharmacist friend. All right, let's start with the basics. I promise I'll keep this painless. When I read research papers out loud word for word, even I fall asleep. Nocturia in one sentence. Waking up one or more times during sleep to urinate. That's it. Genuinely, that's the whole definition. Now here's a detail that surprises a lot of people. Nocturnal doesn't necessarily mean nighttime. It means sleep time. So if you work night shifts and sleep during the day, waking up at noon to use the bathroom counts as nocturia. It's not about the clock. It's about whether you're being pulled out of sleep by your bladder. One more thing worth clarifying, and this applies to Jake too. Some people wake up for other reasons, back pain, noise, stress, and then just happen to use the bathroom while they're up. That's technically different from nocturia. Nocturia means the urge to urinate is what woke you up. It sounds like a small distinction, but the research emphasizes it because the cause, and therefore the treatment, can be completely different. Now let's talk numbers. Don't worry, I'll make this interesting. In the United States, studies show that among adults over 40, roughly 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men deal with nocturia regularly. In Europe, the numbers are similar. One large cross-country study found that among men aged 55 to 75, only 1 in 5 had 0 episodes of nighttime voiding. The other 4 out of 5, waking up at least once.
And globally, a review of 43 studies found that nocturia affects a significant portion of younger adults too, not just older people. Somewhere between 1 in 10 and 1 in 5 people in their 20s and 30s wake up twice or more per night. This is not a rare condition. This is basically a normal Tuesday for a huge portion of the population. Jake, you are not alone. Okay, so back to Jake's thought. I'm just getting old. Half right, half wrong. Let me explain. The half right part. Yes, nocturia does become more common with age. In your 30s, roughly 1 in 5 people experience it. By your 60s and 70s, it's closer to 1 in 2. Age is a real factor, no question. But here's the half-wrong part. Nocturia is not exclusive to older adults. We just established that people in their 20s and 30s deal with this too. And this is where the research gets really important. The paper puts it plainly. Nocturia is common in men and women of all ages. So why does it matter that Jake's assumption is only half right? Because the moment you tell yourself it's just age, nothing to do about it, you stop looking for the real cause. And Jake, at 47, is walking right into that trap. That's the most important thing I want you to take away today. All right, here's the part most people get wrong. When you wake up at night to use the bathroom, the instinct is to blame your bladder. Or if you're a guy, maybe your prostate. Makes sense, right? Bladder problem, bladder's fault. But here's what the research actually says. The most common cause of nocturia is not a bladder problem. It's that your body is producing too much urine at night. This is called nocturnal polyuria, and it shows up in over 83% of nocturia cases, more than 8 out of 10. The bladder is completely innocent here. The bladder is basically saying, don't look at me, I'm just full, someone else did this. So who's responsible? That brings us to a hormone called antidiuretic hormone, ADH for short. Think of ADH as a night security guard for your kidneys. During the day, the kidneys run at full production, making urine freely. But at night, when you fall asleep, ADH shows up and says, "Hey kidneys, it's nighttime, our person is sleeping. Slow it down, let them rest." The kidneys comply, urine production drops, and you sleep through the night. But what if ADH doesn't show up for the night shift? The kidneys keep working at full daytime pace. Your bladder fills up, Jake wakes up at 2 a.m. "Kidneys, I told you it was nighttime." "Sorry, nobody told us, the guard never showed." If the hormone doesn't arrive, the kidneys genuinely don't know to slow down. So why might ADH go missing? It can decline naturally with age, but there are also some surprising conditions that interfere, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, here's the part of the episode where things get unexpected, because the real culprits behind nocturia are sometimes not what you'd ever guess. First culprit, sleep apnea. On the surface, snoring and nighttime bathroom trips seem totally unrelated, but there's a direct biological connection. Sleep apnea causes repeated drops in oxygen during sleep. When oxygen drops, the right side of the heart comes under pressure. That pressure triggers a hormone that signals the kidneys to produce more urine. So the chain looks like this: snoring, oxygen drops, heart under pressure, hormone released, more urine, bladder fills, you wake up. And here's a story from my own experience in pharmacy. A gentleman came in, early 60s, clearly exhausted. Said he'd been waking up 3 times a night to use the bathroom for months. We talked through his history, and I asked, "Do you snore heavily?" His wife, who was standing right next to him, immediately laughed. "Does he snore? I've been sleeping in the guest room for 2 years." He had no idea there was any connection, but there is, a real one. He eventually got evaluated at a sleep clinic, was diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea, and after starting treatment, his nighttime bathroom trips dropped significantly. The culprit wasn't his bladder, it was his airway. Second culprit, the heart. This one genuinely surprised me when I first read the research. When heart function is weakened, circulation during the day becomes less efficient. Fluid accumulates in the legs. You've probably noticed this, the sock line indentation on your ankles at the end of the day. That's pooled fluid sitting in your lower extremities. When you lie down at night, gravity is no longer keeping that fluid down. It gets reabsorbed into your bloodstream. Your kidneys then process that extra fluid and convert it into urine. So fluid pools in your legs all day, then turns into urine the moment you lie down at night. The heart is the origin of the problem. The bladder takes the blame. Third culprit, uncontrolled diabetes. When blood sugar is poorly managed, the body produces significantly more urine, day and night. Nocturia is sometimes the first noticeable sign that something is off. People come in saying, "I have no idea why I'm up 3 times a night," and after getting checked, find out their blood sugar has been elevated for months. Fourth culprit, your medication. Diuretics, often prescribed for high blood pressure or heart conditions, increase urine output. If you're taking one in the evening, you're essentially scheduling extra urine production for exactly when you're trying to sleep. The fix is sometimes as simple as shifting the timing to earlier in the day, but always check with your prescribing doctor before changing anything.
So nocturia isn't just a bladder issue. It can trace back to your heart, your lungs, your hormones, your sleep, your medication. It's your whole body sending a signal, not just one organ acting up. Back to Jake. He kept brushing it off. Getting old, nothing I can do. Here's what actually happened. His sleep started deteriorating. Waking up once or twice a night means your sleep cycles keep getting cut short. Your body does critical work during deep sleep, clearing cellular waste, consolidating memories, regulating hormones, maintaining immune function. When that process keeps getting interrupted, everything starts to slip. Research using clinical sleep studies found that people with nocturia had measurably lower total sleep time, lower sleep efficiency, and less REM sleep. Not self-reported, objectively measured. Next, daytime function started to suffer. Jake started needing 2 or 3 cups of coffee just to get through the afternoon. Still foggy, struggling to stay present in meetings. His manager noticed before he did. The research links chronic sleep disruption from nocturia to increased risk of depression. The connection between sleep and mood regulation is well established. Then there's the fall risk, and this one is especially serious for older adults. Getting up in the dark, half asleep, multiple times a night significantly raises the risk of falls. Hip fractures in older adults can be life-changing, leading to surgery, prolonged rehabilitation, and complications like pneumonia. What starts as a nightly inconvenience can cascade into something much more serious. And finally, studies do show a statistical link between nocturia and increased mortality risk in older men. Not because nocturia itself causes death, but because it's often a marker for underlying conditions that are serious: cardiovascular disease, kidney issues, untreated sleep apnea. Ignoring the signal means those conditions go unaddressed. That's what Jake was doing. The signal kept coming. He kept hitting snooze on it. All right, the good news. Jake eventually listened. Let's talk about what helped him and what might help you. First, lifestyle adjustments. Cut back on fluids in the evening, especially alcohol and caffeine, both of which actively increase urine production. Use the bathroom right before bed. These are the basics, but they're not the complete picture. Remember the heart example, fluid pooling in the legs? If that's a factor for you, try this. Around 4 or 5 in the afternoon, maybe while you're watching something on Netflix or just sitting on the couch, prop your legs up above heart level for 30 to 60 minutes. Or wear compression socks during the day. Either way, you're redistributing that fluid before bedtime, so it doesn't all hit your kidneys the moment you lie down.
Here's the thing. If you've got those sock line marks on your ankles at 5 p.m., that's the fluid that's going to wake you up tonight. Reducing nighttime trips by lifting your feet in the afternoon. Sounds too simple, but the biology behind it is rock solid. Second, medication timing. If you're on a diuretic, talk to your doctor about taking it earlier in the day. Sometimes it's not about changing the medication at all, just the timing. Always consult your prescribing physician before adjusting anything. Third, medical treatment options. If the underlying cause is an overactive bladder, medications exist for that. If it's prostate-related in men, there are treatments for that too. But if the core issue is nocturnal polyuria, too much urine being produced at night, there's a medication called desmopressin. Desmopressin is essentially a synthetic version of that night shift hormone, ADH. It kicks in within about 30 minutes, and clinical trials show that roughly 1 in 3 men and close to half of women experience at least a 50% reduction in nighttime trips. As a pharmacist, one important note, desmopressin carries a risk of hyponatremia, low blood sodium, that can cause headaches, dizziness, and in severe cases, serious neurological effects. Older adults are at higher risk. Blood work is required before and during use. This is not something to self-prescribe. Please work with your doctor on this one. Back to Jake one last time. He started keeping a voiding diary. Simple, just 3 to 4 days of notes. What time you went to bed, what time you got up, each time you used the bathroom overnight, and roughly how much. A little, medium, a lot is fine. No need to measure precisely. He brought it to his doctor. The doctor looked it over and said, "Jake, this pattern looks like nocturnal polyuria, and you mentioned you snore. Have you ever been evaluated for sleep apnea?" Not just aging, a real identifiable cause, one that could actually be treated. Here's what I want you to take away from today. 1. Waking up at night isn't automatically just getting older. It happens across all age groups, and the bladder is often not the real problem. 2. The most common driver of nocturia is overproduction of urine at night. The real causes can be sleep apnea, heart function, diabetes, or even a medication you're already taking. 3. Don't ignore it. Nocturia is your body flagging something. The symptom is manageable. The underlying cause matters. If anything today sounded familiar, try keeping a voiding diary for a few nights and bring it to your doctor. That's the step that finally changed things for Jake. It might do the same for you. Thanks for listening. If this was helpful, a like and a subscribe genuinely helps this channel reach more people. See you in the next one.